You catch your breath yet? Dolphins 32, Jets 26, overtime victory in week 14 for Miami, keeping their season alive for one more week. Here we go. Locked on Dolphins post-game club dub. Here we go.
You are Locked On Dolphins, your daily Miami Dolphins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Miami, welcome to another episode of Locked On Dolphins. It is your team every day here on the Locked On Network. I'm your host, Kyle Krabs, a lifelong Miami Dolphins fan, host of Locked On Dolphins, co-host of Locked On NFL Scouting, author of Touchdown Miami on Substack, and the NFL draft lead for the 33rd team. Want to give a special shout out and welcome to our everydayers, because it is your team every day. We don't just say it, we live it here on the Locked On Network, especially on a Victory Monday, which is where we're at right now. Today's episode of Locked On Dolphins is brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code in all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Everybody all at once. Collective exhale. All right. This was not quite the game that I expected the Dolphins were going to play. But it's the game we got, and it was a win, which you'll take every day out of the week. The Miami Dolphins escaping, really. I think there's plenty of bad. There's plenty of good. I think collectively, I have a deal of respect for how the Dolphins were able to persevere here. There were some situational football things that I actually thought shined pretty brightly for Miami. But there's going to be time all week long to kind of pick through the constructive criticism that needs to come with a performance like this, particularly defensively, where you give up over 400 yards of offense. You're 6 of 14 on third and fourth downs. You give up an average of 7.6 yards per pass. It's almost 6.5 yards per play. You get barely any pressure on Aaron Rodgers. You don't force any turnovers. You give up 4 yards per carry. There's some bad tackling throughout the course of this game. Felt like you had some success getting some stops, but then they go for it on fourth down a few times. You have big giveaways of opportunities with getting him backed up behind the sticks and letting him off the hook. You go down with less than a minute left in the game by a field goal because you can't get a big stop on the final possession after your offense kind of stalls out midway through the second half and it really makes you sweat it out. There's a lot to be desired, and there's a lot of questions that come out of a game like this. But for today's show, it's about enjoying a win, which the Dolphins successfully did, moving to 6-7 on the season. Gutsy performance. Really, when you consider the end of both halves, the overtime performance, some of the injuries that kind of changed dynamics of your football team on the fly that you had to pick up, special teams contributions. I thought this was the best special teams performance the Dolphins have received all season long. Those collective things, when you look at the entirety of the script and you start piecing together the DNA of this football game and winning 32-26 in overtime and really having kind of a clunky operation in the second half after, possessing the ball 4 times and scoring on 4 opportunities in the first half. Bravo. It's exactly the kind of stuff that you would want as far as like your big dogs made plays for you down the stretch. It was Tua, it was Jonnu Smith, it was Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle all having big-time production for you. Devon Achane had a productive day from a total yardage perspective, despite getting banged up. And they made the plays when they needed to down the stretch. The defense bowed up at the right times. It bowed up in the red zone. It bowed up with those possessions in the second half in the fourth quarter to get you the ball back and a chance to come back from behind 8 points. Bravo. All things considered. Not necessarily the most stress-free game. And, the way that it started when you consider, you didn't get a punt until the Dolphins' first possession of the second half, where that came with about 10 minutes left in the third quarter. And they punt one, two, 3 out of 4 possessions to start the second half. They have a touchdown drive in there where they tie the game back up, where they go starting from their own 40-yard line after they forced their own first punt defensively. That was kind of the gnarly stretch of the game where you bow up in the red zone a couple times in the first half. You managed to get the end of half sequence there with 49 seconds left on the clock to get a field goal and go back up to take the lead to halftime. And then the Jets come out and they take touchdown, and then you punt and you give them back the ball. They go 14 plays and then have to kick a field goal to go up 8 points, and then you punt again. That was the tipping point, and that was like I imagine I'd speak for everybody. You go 3 plays, 0 yards in 28 seconds. Everybody's probably feeling a little bit queasy. You're down 8 points. You haven't forced a punt yet all day. They'd scored on 5 straight possessions to start the game. You weren't tackling well. You go 3 plays, -1 yard. Then you put together your touchdown drive. You force another punt, 3 plays, 6 yards. Now you have momentum with a tie game, but then you have to give the ball back. And then the Jets go 11 plays, 63 yards. Some questionable clock management at the end of the game by then that kind of let you off the hook a little bit, gave you a chance. 52 seconds. You get the great return by Malik Washington. That's a really, really cool development for Miami when you consider Malik and the role that he had in the loss in Green Bay with the muffed punt, to come out and you're down 26-23 and he comes out and rips off that 48-yard kickoff return to get you back in scoring territory in the final minute. You go 6 plays, 20 yards, have a couple big moments, big opportunities. I'm actually kind of glad they didn't hit that third down throw, that throw up the numbers to Tyreek Hill. I'll be honest, with 12 seconds left, I don't think it's a guarantee that he scores. And if he doesn't score, I don't know that you get up on the clock and spike the ball and have enough time, because it was that far downfield. It wasn't like it was a quick to the line of scrimmage type of throw. It was a down the field throw. So you're going to get everybody sprinting, getting lined up with 12 seconds left when the ball hit the ground. Like, I don't know that they would have got it off. So it's either Tyreek scores on that play or you lose the game. It's kind of what I felt like it was. And then credit to Jason Sanders. Missed an extra point. Bless him. He won AFC Special Teams Player of the Month for the month of November. And his first kick after winning the award, he misses it. But he was nails at the end of each half with the long kicks that he made, the 250-plus yard kicks that he made. The one at the end of the half was from 57. That probably would have been good from the low 60s. And then the one that he hit to tie the game was from 52 with 7 seconds left in the fourth quarter. You might hear Jason Sanders' name again. Spoiler, you probably won't. But we're doing game balls to finish this Victory Monday episode here on Locked On Dolphins. Make sure that you stick with us. Dolphins 32, Jets 26. Got some injury updates and players that stepped in to some of those spots. We're getting after that next, in addition to more reaction from this Dolphins win here on Locked On Dolphins. Time is your most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. Spend it wisely and improve yourself. Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including Constitution 101, the meaning and history of the Constitution, the great American story, a land of hope, the rise and fall of the Roman Republic, and many more. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced, so you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you could go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost. It's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. Today's episode of Locked On Dolphins is sponsored by Prize Picks. If you love watching the game, you're going to love Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, whether it's football, basketball, any of your favorite sports. Prize Picks makes your holidays bigger and brighter. Here's why you need to check it out. You can win up to 200 times your money on Prize Picks. Plus, this holiday season, they're giving away $30 million in rewards during Picksmas and offering 2 free picks in December. When your picks hit, Prize Picks makes it easy to cash out. You can get your money in as fast as 15 minutes. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly after you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the bonus. Prize Picks. Run your game. You know what was not happening from a running perspective was the Dolphins offense. I'll take the L here. My bad. We did the bold prediction show on Friday, and I said we're going to run for more yards than we've run in the past month for a single game total. Put me down for like 90 rushing yards. They didn't even get half of that. They go 19 for 44 with a long run of 7 yards. So I think that's where I kind of admire the fact that they pulled this off. Is it sustainable? No. Let's be abundantly clear. It's not sustainable. But the fact that you went 1 of 9 on third down, you had almost a full yard less per play than the Jets did. You had half as many rushing yards for 2.3 yards per carry. You were penalized 8 times for 49 yards with some really easily avoidable stuff. But then also I thought there were a couple ticky-tack calls, but that's neither here nor there. And you won the game? It's a good thing you played the Jets. Everybody raise your glass and pour one out for the Jets. 14 consecutive seasons missing the playoffs. That's official for the second consecutive year. It was the Dolphins for whom the Jets bell tolled for. The Dolphins officially eliminating the Jets with this win. Things you hate to see. They did have an explosive play in the running game, and that was kind of the messaging that they had, is that they felt like they were close, but they had some penalties that have brought back some explosives that kind of skew the average. And why? Well, I hear what you're saying when you say that. I think there's probably just an acknowledgement right now that you're not really going to be you're the skill set of your players on the field, on the offensive line. And it's a hot button topic, and I know it, and I'm not really interested in reopening Pandora's box talking about it, because I agree with everybody that says if you improve that unit with talent, you will open the door for a more diverse menu of ways in which you can win a football game. That is true. It's authentically true. And I believe everybody that believes that. Or I agree with everybody that believes that. The hope is that the people that are running this football team come to the same conclusion when we get to the end of the rainbow. Because I certainly hope you would look at this game. Devon Achane, 14 for 24, long of 7 yards. Jalen Wright, 2 for 7 with a long of 5. Tyreek Hill, 1 for 6. Jeff Wilson, 1 for 4. I thought it went for 5, personally. It's neither here nor there. And Tua Tagovailoa with 1 scramble for 3 yards. That's the makeup of 19 for 44. And really, you got outscored 10-0 in the third quarter, and we're down by 8 points. It kind of felt like you felt that they were wasted downs just based on the way that they called it. And then you get to overtime, and they get Jonnu Smith a couple of those quick perimeter screens. I don't know what Jonnu Smith said to Mike McDaniel exactly at the end of regulation, but it was whatever Mike McDaniel needed to hear, because they came out and they got the ball to Jonnu Smith twice with the ball in his hands, and boy, did he look fresh getting out of the catch point with a lot of off coverage. That was one of the things Tua Tagovailoa said as far as how they played offensively and why they played the way that they played. You got a lot of free access and a lot of space on the perimeters. And I like the fact that they found opportunities to take outbreaking routes in those areas of the field and take pitch and catch opportunities, and made the most of it. And Jonnu Smith has a 20-yard catch and run. Jalen Waddle has a 20-yard catch in this game. Tyreek Hill has a 20-yard catch in this game. Both Hill and Waddle very efficient. 12 targets, 9 catches, 99 yards for Waddle, 14 targets, 10 catches, 115 and a touchdown. They come back effectively, run the same play back-to-back for the touchdown and the 2-point conversion to tie the game. It's just a matter of, I think, when you reflect on how you got to overtime, I appreciate the fact that they pulled it off. But man, we got some defensive questions. And give credit to Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams, I think a little bit not so much. He had an explosive play in this game that just frankly looked like it was dropped coverage, and then he had another nice opportunity. There was a back shoulder ball that kind of showcased the chemistry with Aaron Rodgers. I can't believe we sacked Aaron Rodgers 3 times. It didn't look like they were going to be able to breathe on this dude. And that I think was the most demoralizing piece of the puzzle. Because, Chop Robinson gets banged up, he comes back in the game. You didn't have the storyline on defense like you did with Teron Armstead going out of this game and then coming back in and then leaving again and apparently being frustrated on the sideline and looking emotional on the sideline and having teammates come up to him and talk to him, and Patrick Paul comes in. And I know everybody wants to know what I thought Patrick Paul did in this game. I don't have an answer for you because I need to watch the tape copy. It's the equivalency of last week with the Green Bay loss. And I said, I know everybody wants to hear me talk about Tua Tagovailoa and how he played, but I want to watch the tape before I speak on it because I want to be able to speak intelligently about it. That's the Patrick Paul, because Tua wasn't sacked. He only was pressured really a couple of times. I do want to know, Next Gen Stats will have it for us, but the average time to throw in week 14, let's see. Tua Tagovailoa, 2.35 seconds. It's about what his season average is. It's not as fast as it's ever been with Tua, but it was the fastest. It's been the fastest track time thus far this week on Next Gen Stats. Now you contrast that to Aaron Rodgers, who held the ball almost 2.8 seconds. And you contrast that to his season average of 2.6. Rodgers held the ball longer than average. And there were a couple that he held the ball for what felt like 6 seconds and just couldn't get guys home. When we did get guys home, I thought the most egregious penalty called in Miami that I did not think was a penalty at all was the Zach Sealer defensive holding. When you're trying to force a punt and the Jets have their momentum and you let them get a couple key conversions on third down situations, well, then you get them backed up and it's, second and 20, and they take a sack and it's going to be third and 29 with Emmanuel Ogbah on a twist that to be inside the Dolphins 10-yard line, trying to come out, or the Jets 10-yard line, trying to go out and score. And it's like, oh man, we're going to have great field position here. And they called defensive holding on the twist, which I thought was super ticky-tacky. That's going to be the question. And, I'm in the process right now. It's part of the reason why I didn't get so turned around as quickly as I normally do for a post-game show. I'm working on my latest mock draft for the 33rd team. You can have your questions about the offensive line. This defensive unit needs a lot of work. It needs a lot of reinvestment with players with a new vision. Still felt like this was the first year they finally got out of the infrastructure of what the Flores Boyer years were built for the style of the defensive unit. And then obviously they move on from Christian Wilkins. They move on from Xavier Howard. They move on from Jerome Baker. There's other players that move on last offseason as well, including ones that were draft picks within that chapter of the organization. And they kind of piecemealed it together this year. There's some buttons that they push that have worked. There's some buttons that they push that have not. Like Jordan Brooks continues to be a dog. I think he's a great hit for the team in free agency. But you contrast that with Jordan Poyer, and you contrast that with Kendall Fuller had a couple of low water marks in this game, I thought. There's going to be a need. And if the Dolphins are going to do this thing down the stretch that I know a lot of us are hoping that they do, we should all, to some degree, be hoping that they're winning the games. They're going to need a boost. And whether that comes from Cameron Good, which I don't think that it would, but if it's going to come from Bradley Chubb. If Bradley Chubb can get on the field and even give you 15 plays a game, they desperately need it. Because the organic pass rush that they have right now is not going to do it. And the Texans have the ability with their wide receivers to challenge you in some similar ways to the ways that the Jets did. So that's the big matchup for this quick turnaround. Not a quick turnaround, but this turnaround now to play in Houston for week 15. That's going to be the challenge, I think. Watching how they matched up here against the Jets. We're going to give out some game balls next. You're on this episode of Locked on Dolphins. Make sure that you stick with us. You can tackle the rest of the NFL action this season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view the live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page is where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Right now, Dolphins 2.5-point dogs in Week 15 against the Texans. That is a doable spread if based on the general rule of thumb. If it was in Miami, it seems like the Dolphins would be favored. But right now, you can get them on the money line at plus 114, and the game total is over or under 47.5 points, which is one of the higher game totals for Week 15. So if any of that is speaking to you, you can grab it. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more over at FanDuel. So I think from a game balls perspective, this is the kind of game, and there will be people that move the goalposts or talk about the quality of the opponent or this, that, the other thing. This is the kind of situational football performance by a quarterback that you're hoping you get to be able to come into a game situation and say, okay, you have 49 seconds starting at the 30-yard line, and you have, one timeout? Can we go get points before half? And you didn't even have a timeout. The timeout was an official timeout for D. Eskridge getting injured on the kickoff return, having somebody roll up on the back of his leg. You didn't have a timeout. And you still managed to go 31 yards in 5 plays and kick a long field goal and steal points situationally before half when the Jets are looking to double dip you in the middle 8 minutes of the football game, because they had just gone 11 plays, 58 yards in 4 minutes and 7 seconds to leave about a minute left on the clock and kick the field goal. And then lo and behold, they come out, they score a touchdown for the first possession of the second half. That could have been a 10-point swing. You negated part of that situationally with the drive, and you had opportunities where you're making read progressions and getting the ball to Waddle, getting the ball to Hill. You get the ball to Waddle in scoring territory and then get everybody lined up and clock the ball to kick the field goal. It's a good drive because I'm sitting there watching the clock tick down the first half, and I'm saying, man, I can't wait to see how Mike McDaniel tries to pull off no timeouts and try to get in scoring territory. And they had a well-executed drive. And then you get the end of game sequence where you obviously get boosted a little bit because you get the kickoff return, but you're starting on your own 46. You get a Tyreek Hill chunk. You get a Jalen Waddle chunk. You take a shot to Tyreek, but then you make sure that you have opportunities there where you're putting the team in position to score points. And then you have the drive in overtime where it's methodical. It's 8 plays. There's good throws in there. There's good decisions. The throw to Jonnu Smith to decide the game was a perfectly placed ball relative to the layers of routes that were above and below it in the red zone. And he's coming all the way across the field. So he's got to work through progression. It kind of reminded me of the touchdown that they had to Mike Gesicki. Wasn't the exact same play, but against Detroit in 22. I think this long developing like third or fourth progression for all the way on the other side of the field. So final minute, no timeouts, 3 points before half. Final minute, no timeouts, 3 points to close the game, game-winning drive and touchdown, or touchdown drive in overtime. Tua Tagovailoa game ball. Outduels Aaron Rodgers in this game. Defensively, I don't have a great candidate here. Zach Sealer probably had a couple of the takedowns on Aaron Rodgers, even despite the defensive holding penalty. I'm going to give Zach Sealer his flowers here with an honorable mention to Jordan Brooks. for the second consecutive week, I thought played a different level of intensity than most anybody else on the defensive side of the ball. So game balls in this game for me, Tua Tagovailoa and Zach Sealer, as the Dolphins come out victorious in overtime. Mike McDaniel's first career overtime game. We'll talk more about it in the days ahead, but Dolphins 32, Jets 26. Enjoy Club Dub for another week. We've had an opportunity to get back into Club Dub after what's been a really rough up and down year, and we will once again on next Sunday try to get to 500 this year with just 4 games left to play. I am Kyle Krabs. You can keep it locked in right here on Locked On Dolphins. It is your team every day. Appreciate you guys for checking out the show. Make it a great rest of your Sunday evening, and I'll be back again soon for more Miami Dolphins football.